Auburn is the toughest place in college football to win. You have to compete against the pressures of the SEC West, the pressures of high expectations, and the pressures of Nick Saban and their arch rival Alabama. Bryan Harsin knew exactly what he was signing up for when he decided to leave his alma mater and stability at Boise State to become the head man at Auburn. Many wondered if it was even a good head coaching fit, as he didn't have recruiting ties in the area and had never coached in the SEC before. We would find out pretty quickly that Harsin would sort of be in over his head, but that came after a very promising 6-2 start. Unfortunately, the Auburn football season fell apart very quickly, and after just one season, fans were ready to kick him out of town, and boosters were about to do anything to get rid of him. Unfortunately, the buyout from Gus Malzhan was the reason they didn't, and Harsin will likely have one more year, and by far has the hottest seat of all SEC coaches. So how did the fan base turn on Harsin so quickly? What all went on with Auburn this past year, and what are the expectations for Harsin this year, and how can he save his job? In today's video, I'm going to introduce you to who Bryan Harsin is, talk about his first year at Auburn, and the entire saga that went on at the Plains this spring. So, without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. In order to understand the Bryan Harsin saga at Auburn, we need to go way back in time. We're going to go back to the year 1976, when Harsin was born in the city of Boise, Idaho. This was long before Boise State was one of the most popular programs in college football, but eventually he decided to go there as he became a Bronco and was a great quarterback for them. Immediately after that, he decided to go into coaching. He started his career at Eastern Oregon in the year 2000 before he came back to Boise to become a graduate assistant in 2001. He did quickly move the ladder there as he was a tight ends coach for 3 years and then spent 4 seasons as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach. At the time, Boise State had started to break out and Chris Petersen was one of the top head coaches in the nation, so Harsin had a great role model and a great program to learn from. That is why he decided to go over to the Big 12 and take a job with another big-time Orange program, the Texas Longhorns. He became the co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach for the Longhorns in 2011, and then he was given his first big break. He was hired as the head coach at Arkansas State. It's funny because that is the job that Gus Malzhan had just left, and Harsin had now taken over there. Harsin had become the 29th head coach in the Red Wolves' history, and he led them to a 7-5 record in 2013, which gave them a share of the Sun Belt Conference title. They also ended up going to the GoDaddy Bowl game, where they played against Ball State. After just 1 year, he caught his big break. Chris Petersen decided to hang it up at Boise State and take the head coaching position at Washington, so now the head coaching job at his alma mater was open. Boise State leadership knew the perfect guy for the job, and they decided to reach out to Harsin, and he became the Broncos head coach on December 11th, 2013. Boise State was really good when he was there. In year 1, they went 12-2 while winning the Fiesta Bowl, and in year 2, they went 9-4. From there, Harsin really began to blow up as a coach, as in 2016 he went 10-3, 2017 he went 11-3, in 2018 he went 10-3, and in 2019 he went 12-2. In his 7 years at Boise State, he won over 10 games 5 times and became one of the best coaches in school history and a sought-after guy on the coaching market. He went 69-19 with a 45-8 conference record, so he was definitely qualified to take over a Power 5 head coaching gig. Except, would he even want to leave? Obviously, he played there and he loved it there and he could win there, so why would he want to hang it up to go take a new head coaching job? Well, the luster of a huge contract and an unlimited budget was probably what prompted him to take the head coaching job at Auburn. Gus Malzhan had gotten the Tigers to the national championship game in the 2013 season and consistently had them winning, and they were actually very competitive against Alabama, but eventually he started to flatline and he was run out of town. He took the head coaching job at UCF, so after the 2020 season, a new head coaching search was in the works, and they decided to go get Harsin. So with the kind of pressure he'd be facing, why would he even want to take the job? Well, Stuart Mandel said this, quote, "Auburn is one of the select few programs that can realistically capture a national championship with the infrastructure it has in place. Because of the sums of money it requires, building a team to that level is extremely difficult. There's a glass ceiling for a lot of Power 5 schools across the country, but not Auburn." Obviously, expectations were high in year 1, so now let's go ahead and talk about the timeline of the first season. Harsin would run into his first roadblock as the wide receiver room was not looking very good, so he decided to fire Cornelius Williams 4 games into the season. On October 2nd, Auburn ended up beating LSU in Baton Rouge for the first time since 1999, something that Gene Chizik and Gus Malzahn failed to do. Just a few weeks later, on October 30th, Auburn was in a tremendous position as they beat number 10 Ole Miss, and they started the season out at 6-2. They were still in the hunt to win the SEC West, and it looked like things were going picture perfect and well above the standard. Then, things began to happen. Against Mississippi State, they lost 43-34, and Auburn blew the largest lead in program history. They lost by 25 points, and in the process, Bo Nix was lost for the season with an ankle injury. The following week, TJ Finley would take over, and Auburn would lose on the road to South Carolina, giving them a third straight loss. Yes, they had lost 3 straight games, but it would not have mattered if they could have just taken care of Alabama. After a great defensive first half, Auburn found themselves with an opportunity to ice the game. Instead of just staying down in bounds, running back Tank Bigsby decided to run out of bounds, which would end up giving Alabama nearly a minute to go down the field and score. As you always know, Bama will always pull through in these moments, and Bryce Young found Ja'Cory Brooks to send the game to overtime. The Tide eventually won in 4 overtimes, and this became the 3rd loss of the season where they held a double-digit lead. Changes were pretty much made immediately, as their first-year offensive coordinator Mike Bobo was fired, and then on December 12th, Bo Nix decided to transfer out of the program. After that, things began to heat up even more as Tank Bigsby entered the portal, but thankfully for Harsin, he decided to come back. The Tigers ended up getting matched up to play against Houston in a bowl game, and while the Cougars were really good last year, Auburn fans were not happy that they lost this game, and they would have their first losing season since 2012 as they went 6-7. On January 3rd, the team's best young receiver Kobe Hudson would transfer, and then their defensive line coach would leave for Clemson. Making things even worse in that department, 7 different Auburn defensive linemen decided to transfer that January, and then Derek Mason, their good defensive coordinator, decided to take the job at Oklahoma. Things were quickly beginning to spiral out of control for Harsin, and it didn't help when they went 0-for-4 on all their top targets during February's signing day. On February 3rd, a ton of stuff began to unsurface as he was facing extreme scrutiny from university leadership, and some even said he was verbally abusive to players, coaches, and the support staff. Some players spoke out against him, and others backed him up, but at the time, he was in vacation in Mexico, so he was not even there to be with his team or the people on the staff. After that, the Board of Trustees began to meet, and it seemed they wanted to find any possible way to fire him. On February 11th, it was announced that Harsin would be retained, with the president saying, quote, "I am pleased to report that the evaluation of concerns raised regarding our football program is complete. I'm equally pleased to confirm that Bryan Harsin remains our head football coach." Basically, over that week, the administration conducted a review where they went to meetings and interviews and talked to former and current football players. It seems there was not enough to fire him, and maybe there was just a lot of blowing smoke from all the Auburn boosters. We don't really know, but at the time of him getting brought back, 25 players had transferred out of the program, a couple coaches had stepped down, there were recruiting misses, there was a 5-game losing streak, and there was a lot of blown leads. So the first year of Bryan Harsin definitely left a lot to be desired. As we head into 2022, expectations for him are definitely going to be making a bowl game, but I think more importantly, they just need to pass the eye test. If they can compete in all their games, start recruiting well, and beat the teams they should beat, then I do think Harsin will get another chance. This is a guy who won 69 games in 7 years, and he has never had controversy at any other place he went to. If I'm giving my honest opinion, I think a lot of Auburn fans overreacted just because they were upset that the team was losing, and I think they're trying to find any possible excuse to get rid of him. I'm not saying that he was completely innocent or that Auburn fans were completely wrong or not justified, but I do think it would have been extremely unfair to only give him 1 year, as there's just no possible way a coach can succeed with that kind of pressure in that limited amount of time. We're really going to have to wait and see how this team does this year, as the roster honestly doesn't look that great, and they don't have a big-time quarterback. But if Harsin is the coach that some believe he is, then he will have no issue getting this team in shape, and they should perform well this fall. To be honest, I really don't know though. I think no matter what he does, he's probably going to get fired unless he has a miracle season, and it seems that Auburn fans just don't even really want to give him a chance. But what do I know? If you're an Auburn fan, give me your thoughts on Harsin and the Auburn football program in general. Give me your expectations for the upcoming season and why you are upset or are willing to let Harsin stay. I definitely want to know your thoughts down below, as I'm not super informed on the issue, but I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.